Good morning. My name is Adam Kahn, and I'm the Rational Investor. Thumbs up. I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome from Las Vegas. We had a massive rainstorm yesterday. I mean, really crazy. The wind's blowing, splashing all over, things pouring off the roof. So nice today that it seems like the sun may break through and nice day, cooled us off a bit. That being said, I'm going to talk today about maybe how to become rich, things to do. Maybe, I know some people phrase it like how to become a millionaire, but I'm not going to put a number on it. And if you stick around to the end, I'm going to go through the equity, the stocks that I own. I would suggest, not forgive me, I'm not a financial planner. Don't take my advice for anything else. I'm just some idiot on YouTube. I do this stuff for my own enjoyment for the most part. Um, I'm up to 80 subscribers, which I know is like nothing in the world of YouTube, like really nothing, but it's cool to me. I like that some people are subscribing. So before I forget, if you're watching it and you're enjoying my content, subscribe, give a thumbs up, a like. Feel free to make comments. I like to chat from time to time. I will respond, even if it's not that quick. Um, but let me get back to the point of what I was going to say. And the way to get rich is make money and save. There really isn't much more to it. You need to save and put away for the future. Anything outside of that is just going to be spinning wheels, watching a bunch of things on YouTube of getting rich quick and everything else. Well, it might be entertaining. My guess is it's not the best route to go, and either you'll get really lucky or you'll get really unlucky. And there's a good opportunity to lose what you put in when you follow some of the advice from the people on here. Owning 10 properties or 20 properties in a year and building to 1,000 of them for, passive income. It's just silly if you're not in the right financial position to be able to do that stuff. What if there's a downturn? What if you don't get them rented? What if this? What if that? What if the other? It's just not realistic advice and probably gets you off track from the things you need to do to get beyond and succeed. You know, I was really lucky when I was young. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I got out of school. My brother was working at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange and kind of said, "Hey, you should come out here and check it out. It's really neat." So I went out there and I did, and it was. Now, naturally, I like finance and I find that interesting and entertaining. So I naturally gravitated towards it. I mean, I remember the first day when I walked into the exchange and I saw all the numbers and the lights, and I didn't know what any of it meant. It looked like chaos to me, but I was just drawn in. It was really just, I was like a fish in water. I really loved it. So it was just fortunate to fall into something I like, because if you fall into something you like, you can probably have success in it. And if you're having success, be sure not to live at or above your means. The reason I say at is because you need to live below your means so that you have additional income to put away. I saw something on Singapore that's really cool. They kind of have a forced savings out of people's income, and it's 20% of their income. Now, I think if you do that with everybody, you could run into additional issues, because I find that if everybody's on the same playing field, that causes inflation and makes things expensive. But if you're one of the smart ones that puts your money away, as you get older, you're going to find yourself in just a better position where the ups and downs of the economy shouldn't be as stressful as they are to somebody else who hasn't done similar. I think we're having a slowdown. I think it's going to continue. And I find myself in such a different position this time versus 2008, um, where I'm not as stressed that it's coming or anything else, because I feel like I have that cushion to be able to handle a few years of a rough economy. And my guess is maybe we have it, maybe we don't. But if we do, it's not going to be as hard as it was last time, just because of the position I helped to put myself in. And now I have a family and a wife and a kid, and I can't put them through those ups and downs. When it was just me, it was just different. So that being said, I really think the best way to be rich is simply to constantly save. Put it in things you love, whatever that is that you like, And if you buy stocks, I think that's a great avenue. But if you know about something else, by all means, invest in what you know in. The world has kind of proven that pretty much anything is a collectible. My God, the original iPhone in an original box is worth a good amount of money, or this or that or the other thing. I find a lot of that interesting. It's not necessarily what I would put my investments in, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. So if you know some niche investment that is special to you, yeah, no reason not to invest in that. But the underlying message is the way to become rich and the way to become a millionaire: keep saving, keep saving, keep saving. And then take advantage of things like IRAs. And if your company offers 401k plans, or if they offer stock options or whatever it is, especially if you work for a good big company, my God, I would take any advantage I could of anything like that. I know plenty of people who have become exceptionally wealthy from just the stock options of the companies that were offered, and them taking full advantage of it. So I don't care what your role is. If you work at the warehouse in Amazon and they offer you 5 shares a year or 10 shares a year, take it, and don't think of that money as money that you're not getting on your paycheck. Think of that as retirement. And if you ever leave Amazon or anything else, don't touch it. Just leave it. I think I've told this story a few times, but the reason that that's so near and dear to my heart is when I was in high school. I think I was a junior, so that would date it back to like 1989. Might have been 1988 when I was a sophomore. My grandfather was getting older. Um, this part's not fortunate, but this is. I was fortunate enough that he gave all of his grandkids $10,000 because as he was getting older, he wanted us to go do something silly with it so he could see us enjoy the money. Now, my mom, being protective, because we lost our dad and she had 4 kids and probably wanted to be protective, wouldn't let any of us have the money. She took it from all of us. And I'm guessing because she thought we'd buy a car, or a motorcycle, or this or that, or something that she saw that we didn't need. And I went and kind of argued with her and said, "Why are you taking the money that he gave us?" And she says, "Well, why? What do you want to use it for?" I don't even know why I thought this way my whole life, but I did. I mean, I really did. I can tell even stories when I was younger, but I said because I wanted to buy stock with it. And she looked at me completely shocked and was like, "Okay, well, why don't you write down the companies you want to buy, and I'll let you know." Which is kind of funny to me in some ways, because what's the difference what ones I wanted to buy? So I remember most. I can't remember one, but it was Chrysler, it was Eastman Kodak, GE, and McDonald's are the ones that I remember for sure. There was one or two others in there that I can't remember one for the life of me. But the point is, Eastman Kodak went out of business. Chrysler went out of business. Now, to be fair, it went from like $9 when I bought it to 10 or 11, and I needed a computer for college. So I sold my 100 shares of Chrysler and used that money to buy. It wasn't really a computer, but like some fancy typewriter that was like half computer. Like you could write a paragraph or two on it, and it would kind of save it in the typewriter and work anyway. Work like that. GE at this point is completely morphed and is no longer the GE that I bought, but McDonald's has split either 3 or 4 times. I don't still own it, but just understand the point of the story. I bought it for like $22 a share. Over the past, what, 89, 99, 09, 19, 30 some odd years. So it's been a long time. McDonald's is now trading, I don't know, close to $300 a share, and it's also split 3 or 4 times. So that means my 100 shares would be two, for between 800 and 1,600 shares. That $2,300 investment is somewhere between 240,000 and I don't know, $500,000 over the past 30 years. So my point is, if you just save, it doesn't have to be a ton of money. That was a $2,400 investment. This was not some $50,000 investment. If you just put away and pick good companies, it'll work itself out. when I picked McDonald's, I had heard stories about, oh, my grandmother, my grandfather, they put $500 in or they put $1,000 in and they're multimillionaires. So it wasn't like I was that guy. That had already happened. McDonald's was already a mature company that there were stories about grandma or grandpa who made all this money. So people didn't think it would continue like that. I just saw it as not risky. It was a big company. There were lots of them around. I didn't know anything about earnings or any of the other stuff. I just, knew McDonald's. I don't think anything's changed. Pick companies like that that are lots of them around and they do good business and whatever else. Some will go out of business, but some won't. And the overall investment will do quite well if you just stick with it. Don't worry about getting in or getting out and what the price is today. Like, I try to still watch some of it, but my guess is the more you trade and the more you move in and out of things, the worse you'll do. So, as promised, I'm going to go over the stocks that I own, and I'll also talk to you about some others that I probably would like to own because my real philosophy is what it was then. I want to buy companies that I think are good companies, and then I don't ever want to sell them. I hope that I make enough at my job to pay my bills and keep up with everything else, and that anything I've put away is just for either retirement or maybe my kid gets it after I pass away. But I really try not to worry about what it does day to day because also during that time frame of owning McDonald's, it fell in half like 4 or 5 times. It used to go from like $20 to maybe 60 or 80 when they would announce a split and everybody would get excited. After the split, it would go from 80 to 40, and the next thing I knew, it was back under 20. Like, so it consistently fell and fell significantly. Where if I watched it too much or wanted to trade, which, I did kid stuff and sold it. Like I said, I wish I still owned it, but I still know what it's done. And I try to keep that for the stuff I do now to be more careful and not sell it for a computer like I did Chrysler. So these are in no order. Forgive me because my memory sucks, so I wrote them down. But these are companies that I think are great that I've spread into and the ones I stick with. I'm going to repeat the thing that I said earlier. I'm not a financial planner. I'm just some idiot on YouTube. I do most of this stuff for my own information so that I help work my brain and think things out and remind myself of my goals. Um, I'd suggest that for all of you. Don't get too into the guys you watch on YouTube or what they say. I watch some of them too, but most of them, like, I, I'm argumentative, but I think most of them, like, they spout out a lot of stuff that I tend to disagree with, and they're super hyperbolic, especially the ones that have the most viewership and followers and everything else. I mean, I almost think they do it for entertainment purposes. If they're that gloom and doom, like, all right, one of them talking about the house market collapsing and so on and so forth. And I kind of said to him, well, do you own your home? And he's like, yeah. And I go, well, have you sold it? And he's like, no. I'm thinking, well, if you think real estate's fallen in half or 80% because the world is ending and everything else, why do you own your home? And that's when he stopped answering me. And I think that's the same with a lot of them. Just be cautious about what you watch on here. Even me, you need to make your own decisions for yourselves and not listen to some guys on YouTube that who knows where their data is coming from. So these are companies I like. I really like Meta. I like Starbucks, Apple, Amazon, Google. I have some of MO, which is Altria or the Philip Morris Group. I don't know. I mean, I get over attached to dividends, and they pay a nice dividend. I don't know if it's a great company or not, but I have Exxon and Chevron, which are both good oil companies in my opinion. I have AbbVie and I have Bristol Myers for my healthcare stuff. I've got Intuitive Surgical, which I really like. It's probably something that I should have less in because it's a little bit more of an offshoot of hoping to become something. Well, they are big, but the next thing type of thing. I own Cisco. I actually picked up some 3M. They have legitimate lawsuits going on and everything else, but they fell a lot and they offer a nice dividend. So I picked some up around 100 or so a share, just thinking geez, it's 3M. They have a lot of good products. I might be better off in like a Johnson and Johnson or something like that that tends to be a little bit more stable and has some top end companies. But I don't know. I like that. I like Disney a lot, even though they've been in the gutter and not everybody's high on Disney right now, and they've got issues going on in Florida, and also who knows with the streaming stuff. But same thing. It's kind of how I look at the companies when I was a kid. It's Disney, and they have a lot of good going for it as well. Um, Qualcomm, I like in that space. I wish I had Nvidia. I don't. I mean, I do trade a tiny, tiny bit, but please, if you ever see my trading stuff, recognize that it's like a very, very small percentage of the portfolio just because I still like to trade. But I, I wouldn't be plowing a ton of money in something like that. I owe Dow, DOW. I like them for dividend. They're diversified a bit. Um, as well as the MO, I also owe Philip Morris, the international one, so PM. I do have some Foot Locker, but I really like the CEO. I've gotten crushed on it so far, but like I said, I tried to own this stuff for a long time. I don't plan to look at it for another year or two. I want to get her name's Mary Diller. She kind of took Ulta Beauty from small to big over a 10 or 20 year period, and she wanted to work at Foot Locker from what I understand. She reached out to them for whatever she saw, and I guess I'm kind of betting on the horse, hoping that over time she can do the same thing with them. I don't know what her vision is or what she sees in Foot Locker. It's not some company I thought, ooh, but I, to be fair, I think it's a good play. A little different than some of the other stuff. Maybe I'm wrong on it. I'd probably put in more than I should, and like I said, I'm getting beat up on it pretty good because last earnings weren't so great. So we'll see if it works out or not. I do have some Target. Since I have Amazon, I don't know if that's overlapping and if there's any point to having Target or just leave it in Amazon. I have QSR, which is, maybe I'm better off in McDonald's than some of the other ones, but it's Burger King, Popeyes, I think, and some other restaurant brands. But same thing, the CEO is somebody who I really liked and think might do well. I own Nextera Energy, which I like that one a lot to have an energy play. I own Match.com, not nearly as much, but I think they're the top in their space, and I think online dating continues to grow with the younger generation. It wasn't something familiar with me, but I think they own Bumble and all the ones you've heard of. So I like Match. I think that's a smart one. And then in terms of like I do have some risky ones, but understand that all of these are less than 1% of my portfolio. Like uh, I I have them. I don't know if there's a point or if I should just put more in some of the stuff that I think that's what you should own. But I own Shopify, Snowflake, and Loan Depot. Loan Depot might be silly because I do mortgages and seems like overlapping what I do for a living. But I feel like they have a good name. The stock dropped from like 20 to $2, and I thought, whatever. If I buy a little bit and it goes out of business, so be it. Ones I don't own that I kind of wish I did. Archer Daniels, Midland, Caterpillar, who crushed it on their earnings yesterday, Microsoft, and then two that I want to talk about a little. I kind of want to own Costco, but when I look at the valuation, it's very hard for me to buy it here. One of the things I said to my brother about buying something like Costco when I think they're what I will call overpriced. Now, to be fair, they're Costco. They run an incredible business, which is why I want to own them. My concern is generally those things ebb and flow as to not just popularity, but they hit a bump in the road and things fall off. Well, right now they're trading at like 40 or 50 times earnings. Oftentimes, when they hit that bump, it reverses to where their earnings fall off significantly, and maybe it drops down to 12 or 15 times earnings and can really reverse and go opposite. So that's why I don't want to buy it here, even though I like the company. And then the other one I really like that I don't own is Tesla. Um, Maybe they're overpriced. The reason I put an asterisk next to it, what I like about Tesla is they're not they're not Ford and GM, so they don't have a middleman. When you buy a Tesla, you're buying directly from Tesla, meaning they do the service, they sell you the car, they even sell you the energy to run the car. And now, from my understanding on what I read, is GM and the like, they're going to start using their charging stations on top of it. I'm not really sure how the bigger companies compete, considering the direct to consumer cuts out so much of the middle. Every aspect of the car is from the company. I think that the big auto manufacturers are in big trouble. What do you do to the guy who has a relationship who actually sells you the car? All those distribution centers and all that land and everything else, I see that as becoming a burden to GM and Ford and the like. Whereas with Tesla, they've got these small ones and they own them. So the direct to consumer is huge. It's kind of why I like Rivian, even though they're so far behind. But I also know people love the car, which is a big plus. Anyway, have a great day. I see my wife starting to work on the trees, so I'm going to go help her, and I'm kind of rushing along. Thank you.